Hello everybody, this is Nightingale, and my goal in this video, it is a long one, I know, because I'm recording this intro just before I finish editing it, and I know it's a long one, but there are a ton of tips in here. I want to take you through the tutorial, little tips to help you throughout your journey. I'm not going to go through full combat sections like one of the first dungeons you'll go through, but so many little things that I've been learning as I played through early access, and then again through today, just any little tips I could figure out and point out to all of you, that's what this is for. So I hope this video, while it may be long, I should get timestamps in there after a little while. You should be able to jump to any sections you need, but a lot of this is just going to be little nuggets of information I've learned through about 30, 40 hours of playing through this, between early access and first day and all of those things, that I hope to make your journey through, especially the first hours, getting to your first new realm, and all of that stuff a lot smoother. So let's jump into all of them, and here we go. So the first tip that I want to give you guys, you're going to go through the basic, literally, tutorial of meeting Puck using the realm cards. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. Then you're going to go to some of these basic realms where it shows you some early things. Well, as you're picking up materials that you need, whether it's plants or berries or rocks or sticks or anything like that, pick up a lot because you're going to have a weight limit that you can hold, but the sticks and the rocks and stuff you're going to use in early survival and crafting stuff. So my advice is run around and pick up pretty much everything you can. Every one of these little trees is going to be sticks. Every one of the little plants are going to be plant fiber. So just pick up a ton of it. It's only going to say like 7 and 6 and 3. Pick up more than you need, and that'll help you a little bit later. So that would probably be the first thing in these tutorial places. Spend a little extra time, pick up more supplies than you need, and you can kind of jump into things a little bit quicker once you get settled. Second quick thing is if you are looking for rocks in this opening tutorial area, like if you're picking up the plant fibers like this, those are all going to count for plant fibers. Sticks, you pick up trees, you can see I've already got 80, so literally you can acquire way too many. Rocks are going to weigh a little bit more, so you'll have to check your weight. Notice I'm just picking up everything, like every plant, every stick. Just get all this stuff early. You're going to use it all as you're exploring this place. But rocks just kind of come to a beach side, kind of off this front island. Like that's the portal you're going to leave on, so just kind of check the outer areas, buy some of these rocks. And you can't break down these rocks until you actually get tools a little bit later, but these little piles of kind of small rocks on the ground, that's what you're looking to pick up. So if you're wondering where those are, knock those out quick. But yeah, you notice I have like 95 plant fibers on all of this. Pick up a lot of stuff early, and it's going to serve you well. And then once you feel like you've got a decent amount of materials and you're not overly encumbered. All right, so the next thing you're going to notice is each of the realms is going to have an elemental, environmental kind of hazard you're going to have to deal with. In the desert, you're going to be dealing with heat. So you'll notice heat will rise. But at nighttime, you probably aren't going to be as hot. In the forest, at nighttime, you might be a little colder, and we'll get to torches and stuff in a little bit. In the swamp, you're going to have to deal with bogs and kind of poison. But in the forest, also, you're going to deal with hail. Hail is painful. You'll eventually get an umbrella early on. We'll talk about that once we get there. But each of the environments have a hazard to them, and you need to plan around either being in the shade, being in the sun, having an umbrella. The elements are a thing to watch out for, so just be aware, whichever realm you're going to be going to, that the elements do make a difference. Now, I know this is all still in the tutorial, but it's a good time to point some of these things out. A lot of times when you build structures, you're going to also have basically certain things that change how the placement of the object is going to affect your benefits or not from them. So you'll notice I have it out here. It's like, here's the tent and here's not. So it's currently grit. It's not on a stable surface, so that's going to have an effect on it. And then exposed, you're going to have a little less benefit, and rest blocked from uncomfortable environment for resting. So it's like, I really won't rest if my bed is placed here, but if I move it under shelter, I've got comfort from nearby furnishings, and I've also got shelter from the elements. So if I place this down, we can put our plant fibers inside so we can build the bed. And your relationship with rest and stamina, it's going to talk about that. If your rest drops too low, you will begin losing max stamina and will succumb to it if it reaches 0. So if you run out of rest and stamina, you will basically pass out and die. And then have to respawn. Rest buffs increase the comfort level of your bedding. Amenities such as light, heat, furniture make everything better, which we were talking about. Resting requires a minimum comfort level. Building the bedroll under shelter meets the necessary requirements. So this is one of the things I want to point out as well. A lot of objects that you can actually interact with, you can rest just like this, and it's going to just fill up my tired meter fully. Then we're going to go make some tools. But the other thing is if you hold down the interact button, you'll see that I can inspect it. And you can see comfort. That's going to raise kind of the benefit of the trait. Grit is going to be decreases comfort by 1, but the shelter improves the comfort by 1. So make sure you are paying attention, because when you're building a whole bunch of different things, where you place them, under shelter, near objects, well lit, which comes to your base and lighting and that type of stuff, will make a difference later. Those all will matter. We'll cover more as we go. All right, every so often you are going to come across a wall that looks like this. It can be in a structure of interest. It can be just in a little side area. I've seen them all over the place. But these walls are ones that you're actually going to be able to break with your mining pickaxe. You'll see this doesn't count, but if you have your mining axe and probably higher levels later on, usually about 3 hits, well, or 4, and then half the time there is going to be something inside. Not always. I've opened plenty of those walls and nothing, but that's sometimes more if you're in like a puzzle point of interest. But I got a card, which is a miner card for point of interest. I've got the way to kind of upgrade some stuff. We'll discuss those later. But yeah, any of those walls like that can be broken. So if you see one, see if there's something behind it. All right, so once you get through the opening tutorial, it's going to ask you to build an estate Cairn. Chiron, probably saying that wrong. C-A-I-R-N, Cairn is what I'm saying, but I'm probably wrong. So you're gonna need to collect your rocks and stone blocks. Now, depending on your inventory, I'm probably gonna need to make some space for those because I've got a whole bunch of other crap on me. And this is the thing. These are going to be a couple tips combined together. If you need space, what you're going to want to do is, instead of just dropping stuff, if you want to make a journey, which I'm going to explain, you probably will here in a second, you want to extract. More often than not, you want to make sure you get the currency of essence from whatever you're holding, as opposed to just dropping the inventory. There's not really a reason to drop anything and leave it there, unless you're just like doing some inventory shuffling and you're going to pick it back up. But if you like, I can pick up sticks pretty much wherever I want. You can do it one of 2 ways. You can extract the whole stack, or if you hold shift and drag it, you can choose to drop or extract it. And if I extract it, I'm going to extract most of it, but I'm going to keep myself like 6 of them. And I can thin some of these stacks of stuff that I've got to make sure I've got space for what I need. Bones again, or I would, if you see hide, keep that early on. Things like basic rocks, plant fibers, twigs, those are easy to just run around and pick up, because this is a plant. This will count as a stick. You'll actually hear the difference in the two. And like mushrooms are going to be good for consumables. And sometimes in any realm, you can have essence drop, whether you're fighting an enemy, picking up something, and your essence dust is that currency you're going for. But as you break stuff down, you also get it, and it's a 1x1 on this first tier of stuff. So that's why right now I have 294, because I've just been picking up a whole bunch of random crap. Like I was literally running around just doing this, just running around picking up just about everything. And just keep hitting E while I go. So then while I do this, and again, it's a 1-to-1. So this little stuff that you can run around and pick up early on is also the currency you're going to use to buy blueprints. It's the currency that you're going to use to repair your items if you want to. And as long as the repair cost is reasonable, this stuff's pretty light, pretty easy to pick up. And I know that might be a little confusing to watch, but now you'll notice I have 63 plant fiber again. So I can come in here, break down most of that, leave myself about 15. Sticks, I don't need that many right now, so I'll leave myself about 10. And there you go. I bumped up my essence. And that early essence you're going to use to buy every blueprint. So later on, you're going to thank yourself for doing this type of stuff early. But when it comes to building your estate Cairn and having a fast travel point, if my essence trader in this realm, who you're going to buy your early recipes from and your blueprints and schematics, is literally halfway across the place from where I landed, I'm going to advise you to travel across the map and probably put yourself in a central location. There are points of interest all over these maps that you're going to be going to. Smaller points of interest where you just may bump into a little bit of remains of like ruins or something like that, and you might find a little bit of currency, a little puzzle, a little group of enemies. Sometimes you'll have bigger things like a giant busted ship sitting on land for whatever reason. Big and small, those are going to be things that you want to investigate each realm fully and find, because those are typically where you're going to find your like clumps of essence. Like there's times in there it's like, hey, you solved a little puzzle or you defeated these enemies, here's like 25 essence. Early in this realm, that's not that hard to get the essence because, as I said, I can break a lot of stuff down. But later on, that will be more important in future realms, so you'll kind of get used to that habit. But you're going to basically explore the entire realm. So if you can make your base in a more central location, you'll probably thank me. So what you can do when you get to the map is you can mark it in two ways. You can say, hey, this is just a basic area, and maybe this area has ore. So I know if I need to come back, I can mark ore. Now that's not going to show up on my screen or on my compass. But if I want to map a true location that I want to go to, maybe I want to put myself here between the lakes, maybe a little closer towards the center, maybe on one of these two sides. I want to mark this as maybe a place that I want to go to, and I'll mark it with an anchor. And now you'll see it's going to show you the exact distance, the direction on screen where you need to run, and it is very easy to see. So let me run over there, and then we'll actually build our estate in a more central location. And as you are going for longer journeys, one thing that you might want to do is you might want to make sure you are consuming food and meat and stuff that you've got. So if you've cooked anything or you've got meat that you can eat, sometimes it's going to help you with maximum health and hunger mitigation. Some things are going to help you with stamina. So for here, I've got blueberries that I can eat. That's going to help me with stamina. Mushrooms are going to help me with health. And then raw meat is going to help me with health. And you can have 3 health buffs up at a time. And now that I've got all 3 of those on, my stamina and health are both buffed right now. So I'm going to run halfway across this map over where we're going, and we'll pick up where to more tips. Literally on another tip before we actually get to the base, there are places called like minor points of interest. This one glowing into the air seems a little obvious. This one is going to be a little bit smaller. But minor points of interest are going to probably have something around them. Now, not always, but something like this is just kind of a little bit of ruins around it. I don't think you're going to be able to jump all the way up there. I have had some that I've been able to jump up, and you also have the eventually the ability to scale walls with like climbing axes. But when I say minor points of interest are worth going to, there's usually a reason you want to explore a lot of the map. And maybe you see one with enemies and maybe you're not ready, mark that and come back. But this one, for example, if I run around it, yeah, I got a little bit of berries and things that I can pick up, sure. But if you go around kind of this main structure, outside of having some food that you're eventually going to get around to eating, I've got a chest sitting right up here. So that's actually going to have a charm, which we'll get to a little bit later, some healing potions, which are beneficial. And there's a second chest over here. We're going to have a random realm card. We're going to have some infusions for things, a couple more items as well. So if you do see... There you go, there's a little bit of essence. If you do see anything like this, check it. Do a quick once around, see if there's any chests, see if there's a puzzle, see if there's something. These minor points of interest are not on the map, but they are very important to explore because it's where you're going to find a whole lot of things that you're likely going to need. Now, as you're doing your roaming around in your first area, see I'm getting close to where I want to be, you are probably going to run into predators. In the forest, I've noticed a lot of wolves, and I think in different realms you're going to find different things. But anything that is a predator, and you'll notice it's a predator by the type of meat that it drops, and you'll notice even predator versus prey, the predator is going to drop meat that gives you a little more health bonus. But I would try and take out all of the wildlife possible, big and small, and skin them with your knife, because you're going to be getting hides, which are going to be used for making a different, like, upgrade of armor. You're going to be turning hides into a bunch of different things. You're also going to be turning meat into things like animal fibers, and you've also picked up bones. All of that is part of early crafting. So anytime you run across enemies, make sure your health is up, make sure you got a weapon out, make sure your stamina's good. But I would really work on trying to take out any early enemies. Just watch your health. And if you need to dodge, your main weapons will do that once you've got stamina. You can get a quick dodge out of the one hands. Stamina for me is a bit of a struggle right now because the rain is not helping. And again, go for the headshots. They do make a difference. And you'll notice because I'm drenched right now, my stamina is really slow to come back. Enemies aren't too bad if you kind of move and, you know, sometimes even just a sideways little dodge will probably get it out of the way. But then if you go over here and skin the animal, you're going to see the meat drop, you're going to see the hide drop, you're going to see the bones drop. All of this is going to be early crafting materials, so the more of this you can do early, And just as you're running around doing natural exploration, the better. So any type of... Sometimes you'll see a pack of deer. You're not going to catch those. And you'll get some ranged weapons where you can eventually get to that point where you could shoot them. But especially the ones that attack you like predators, those are the ones that you do need to fight. Watch your health, watch your stamina. And I might be weighted down a little bit, but you are going to need this type of stuff. So sometimes you'll just come across a random structure, like this, for example. Now, it has a chest inside, but there were enemies that spawned, and you'll see kind of the red, foggy wisps that spawn. Take out the enemies, and remember, if you have walls like this, you can take them out. They're not, like, totally crucial, because I'm pretty sure it's just literally right here. But again, remember, these walls are breakable. And sometimes that can be a good thing. But yeah, all these little tiny points of interest are going to be something that you probably want to check on. Sometimes the enemies are going to chase you down anyway, so it's kind of hard to miss. But usually at the top of the ones with enemies or puzzles, you're going to have these hope echoes. And these are going to give me like 12 essence dust. And also sometimes they will give you things that you can craft. Like that just gave me the ability to make a simple hammer. And if I bring up crafting, which we'll get to in a second, it's a simple item that I can make. So we'll get back to that here in a second, but I just want to show you these little points of interest, definitely worth visiting. And at the higher levels, picking up those essence in chunks like that from an area and also getting stuff from a chest, nice and beneficial, things you don't want to miss out on. So if there's a little point of interest, go do it. So once you build your Cairn, or your estate Cairn, that is going to be your respawn point. Even if you travel to other realms, which we talk about, here's the Antiquarian side of power next to your vendors and stuff. That's also why I wanted to put you in the middle of the map, because you're going to explore the whole map, but from the center, it's at least a little better. But from here, what you're going to do is, as Puck mentions when you talk to him, there are going to be other sites of power. And other sites of power are going to be where you acquire different cards to go to different realms and variations of things, so you can continue to progress in experiencing more difficult content, get higher tier resources so you can level up yourself and your gear. And that's what it comes into. You notice the gear score in the right-hand side is 6 of 20. And that's because most of my gear right now is level 6. Now, what you have equipped changes your gear score. You'll notice if I have blueberries equipped or whatever, that's a level 3. But if I have, say, my axe equipped, then I'm a level 6, because my average of my gear is also going to take into account what you're holding. So that does make a difference. But what I want to do right now is I need to level up my gear score, and to do that, I need to be able to craft gear. So I need workbenches, I need a base, and all of those types of things. So we're going to go through a little bit of base building, but I probably need to gather some materials and kind of get a little setup for it first. So when you get your main base location chosen, what you're going to need to do is just kind of check your inventory versus the materials that you need. Because as soon as you have your estate Cairn placed, you're going to get the option in building. Crafting is a little different. We'll cover the difference there. But for building, you're going to have the option to make your basic foundation for like flooring. You're going to have walls. You're going to have roofs. And a covering to your crafting basics, like actually putting your first workbench, your tanning station, under cover is actually going to make them more efficient. So you do want to build a basic structure to make sure you've got something to work with. Now, when you're building a foundation, you'll notice if I'm up here on level ground that it's going to be a little, a little flatter, a little closer to the ground. If you build it on a hill, you're going to notice it's got a bit more kind of the hill structure to it. So my advice, depending on where you're building, the structures underneath it can have quite a bit of depth. Like if I come over here, you can see that it can actually have quite a bit of depth to work with, depending on where it kind of pops in. So my advice is, if you have a flat-ish area like I do, kind of find a relatively higher-ish point, like this little pop of the hill is probably a little bit higher. Then try and set yourself with kind of how you want to line your building up. Like I kind of want to line mine up next to my estate Cairn. I'm going to start on the top of the hill. But the nice thing is, you don't have to just put your materials in right away. What you can do is, if then you go to build, say, basic walls, like these are going to be wooden walls as opposed to stone walls. I'm going to put a back on a wall, and that's going to give me something to attach a roof to. But just to give myself a little bit of room, I'm going to put 4 pieces down, and you can't be standing in the place where you're trying to put it. Now you'll notice how the foundation will kind of have a little bit of rise to it. I'm going to do a couple of walls. All right, still getting used to all the keys, but yeah, placing. You can just place multiple pieces. I don't know if I want that one there, so maybe I'll get rid of it. Deconstruct that one, you won't lose your parts. And then if I want a couple coverings for it, you can go flat roof. This is just going to be there. Or if you think you're going to have a second floor later on, similar thing, you can go to upper floor. Crude upper floor is just going to be like sticks and stuff. So I think if I'm going to do this, I can place these two here. They're still going to count as covering, but I know if I want to do an upper floor later, that will work. So now what you're going to do is you're going to see the needs for the entire structure. And you're going to find random people out in the world who you need to help. And they're going to probably have a list of structure like this. So I need 32 sticks, 36 wood bundles, and 24 plant fibers. I probably got the sticks and fibers just from my random collection. So I've got most of those, but you can also see what you're missing. So at this point, I know I need some sticks, so I can run around and the things that actually count as trees. You kind of hear the wood branch sound. So you can run around and pick up a lot of this stuff pretty quick. This is what I was saying. It's like as you run around and pick up supplies, again, sometimes you'll just find some random essence. And that's going to give me a little bit of essence. The lore is going to be buried, I think, in a lot of those cards. So that's not a bad way to go about that as well. Sticks can also be on the ground. But yeah, just run around, pick up your basic stuff. Because then we're going to start chopping down trees. All right, so those are done. Now, I do need wood bundles. I'm going to start chopping down trees. Now, I've waited a little too long. Hopefully, you don't wait as long as I do for some of this stuff. Because at nighttime, and this is also where consuming food is going to be beneficial. So you're going to have more stamina for crafting and chopping down trees. So eat 3 different types of food. That'll help you a little bit for stamina and things. But as you're chopping down trees, like chop them and let them fall. But until you really need the space, you're going to have stumps on the ground. And you're going to want to actually leave the stumps on the ground because the trees can actually grow back, which is going to be beneficial for you. Because having the trees go back in your main area, sometimes you're going to need some wood. Later on, you probably won't worry about that. But the amount of effort it takes to chop down a stump is about the same amount it takes to chop down a tree, sometimes more. So if you just get the trees to fall, this is actually going to be a more beneficial way to chop wood. And later on, we'll talk about having some of your helpers do that. Now, by the way, if trees fall on your head, you actually do take a little bit of damage. So be careful the way these things are falling. Just pay attention which way they're going and get out of the way. But as we pick up some of these items, I'm a little bit weighed down by what's in my inventory. You go a little bit slower as you go. Trying to pick up some of this stuff, though. Now, a thing to note is as you place items into a built structure, and I know this set of the tips is long, but it kind of goes through a couple of things. As you place items into the structure, it's going to build by priority of what you built. So the first things I built were the foundation. Those are going to build first. So I have at least a couple of places to actually sit. Now, as I need more wooden bundles, so I still need 24. I've got a lot more on the ground over there that I can run over and pick up. It's truly going to build as you place the pieces, but it's going to build them in the order you place them. So if I started with foundation, it's doing foundation first. Now I know I'm going to want a basic campfire to make sure I can stay warm, and also a bed for places to sit. So we've got crafting basics, and the basic campfire is going to give you a place of warmth and other stuff. We're going to plop that down. Looks like I need a few more rocks for that one, so you can come over here and grab a few rocks. But if you ever get to a point where nighttime is making you cold, like I am right now, you need to make sure you've got your torch out, and the cold will actually fade away, allowing you to have more stamina, which is important to make sure you stay in kind of reasonable shape. Now I need a certain number of rocks for a campfire. That should be enough, because as I pick up 4, 4, and 3, that's plenty. So your basics are a structure with a roof. And then you can put, you know, random sticks or plant fibers or whatever you want in here. Let that thing actually be on. Now that will help keep me warm since I'm close to it. But you'll also notice if you inspect this thing, it's going to be exposed. A shelter is uncovered. So we still want to keep working on putting resources into our structure so it actually can have a bit of a covering. So I'm going to keep right now kind of building this thing out just so I have some, you know, actual place to work. You guys don't need to see me chop down about 100 trees. We'll come back once we're done kind of setting up a mini base. So this is actually a really good example of when you are placing objects in your base of what they are next to and related to. So something for comfort, for example, is warmth, and also being well lit can help structures. All of that stuff actually does make a difference. Now currently it's exposed because I'm still working on building the roof, but if I build my bed just say right over here or just even in the middle, I'm probably going to use so much of the space for crafting. But for now, I'm just going to kind of tuck it here right next to the fire, and you can see what actually connects. So you can get farther and farther away, but you can know that as long as I am somewhat near the covering, then I'm going to be getting the effects of what it is. Now it won't work here, but you can actually see, even if I place it on the ground, and if that line of sight works, it'll go long enough that eventually you can see what connects. I'm going to place this guy out here, and I'll eventually cover it up. But right now, if I go to inspect it, I'll see that it is well lit, which gives me a comfort score. I've got warmth, which is going to give me a comfort score, and then but it is exposed by the elements, so it decreases by 1. And the better the comfort and the rest, the better you're going to do. If you sleep at nighttime, it will do this black screen fade out, and then you'll wake up and you'll be daytime again. So if you're worried about nighttime elements or enemies that are out in the world, you can skip nighttime by even literally just dropping a bed. If you want, or if you're just out in the world, or maybe you're about to go fight a dungeon or something like that probably is, you can place a bed right next to it. And usually if you can give some either structure or flooring or something like that, you'll notice it's like, it's exposed from shelter, but it's not just on the ground. Like if you find just a reasonable spot, you can put a bed almost anywhere just to be able to rest and get your tiredness back up. And if you're about to go into a big dungeon or something, you might want to do that. But yeah, where you place it, paying attention to the green lines that affect other structures, that will be a thing. So build yourself a little extra space. I'm actually going to build this structure out now, so we'll be back in a minute. So once you've got a basic base set up, chop down enough trees so you've got enough wood, picking up sticks and basic rocks and all those little things. I'm doing wood structures. If you prefer to go rock, you can. But again, remember having your equipment covered so it's sheltered. So the refinement time is decreased by 10 seconds. It's well lit. Refinement time is faster, and it's warm. Since it's near campfire, all that stuff does make a difference. One of the earliest things you're going to want to do, so even before I go over to my Essence Trader, because over at the Essence Trader, you're also going to get one of your first kind of assistants to run through. And you can use them for storage. You can use them for help. Equip them with axes, and they can chop trees down. We'll get to that in a little bit. But before you go on too much more of a journey, you're going to want to make some simple stuff, because the makeshift stuff that you've got right now, not very good. So these are not very capable of doing a whole bunch. Your simple items are going to be a tier higher. You can see this is level 6. It's common. When I make one of these, say like a simple wood axe. Now, you're going to need stone blocks. So you're going to use your basic mining axe, and you're going to have to find some stone. I'm currently encumbered, but that's my bad. And again, making these next to a little ledge, not a bad idea. I've got a bunch of straps. I don't need all of those right now. I'll save a few. But the straps you are going to get by using a tanning station. And again, when you're going for interacting with an object, you actually need to be over the object, like the wall doesn't count. But when you interact, you can see what things need. So you need hides for a lot of things. Basically everything in here. Chitin is kind of a exoskeleton. So if you're in a place like a desert that has bugs, that'll be what you see there. Then animal fiber will just come from any meat. You'll be able to make animal fiber, which we'll use for other things. But straps and leather used for clothing and tools, those are going to need hide. And the hide that you get is when I was showing you when you take down predators or prey or anything of that nature, you're going to want to save all their hides, especially early on for making leather, making straps, and basic tools. So that's what I'm going to say is like when you're running around with these makeshift tools and you see some boar that you may need to attack them, take them out, skin them, and you're going to be better off because that way you can make these initial tools once you get to this place. All I had to do is go chop down a couple trees. So now I can add the stone blocks, I can add one piece of wood, and I can add 2 straps in, and I can craft a simple wood axe. And I can take that axe, and once it's done, that axe is going to be level 20 instead of level 6. Melee damage of 30, melee damage of 45. Blocking efficiency is going to be a little bit better, but more strength, more magic power, more durability. So actually the durability doesn't change too much. But as you level up, that's where you're going to get to that point. Now, when I go to repair that, it's going to cost me a little more than the basic one. But that's what you need. These simple tools, you're going to want quite a few of these for a little while. So a hunting knife, you can skin more things that you come across because you're going to want to make a lot of gear. And then a mining pick is probably the third one as well. You're going to want all 3 of these. So when you go for straps, you're going to need at least 6 to get the basics. And again, straps, it'll tell you it's going to net you, if you put hide in, what it nets you. So if I bring hide over here, and if I want straps, you can see when I put 1 hide in, it's going to get me 2. See, it's actually going to be 1 will get me 2, so I can craft that. And then for leather, it actually takes 2 hides to make more leather. And that's why when you're doing some of this early stuff, you're going to need as much as you can. So tools first, so then you can go out and do more stuff, and you can replace your previous tools. I can bring my mining pick down here, replace that. I can bring this over here and replace that. And then these basic tools that you've got, even any of the partners that you find, you can go ahead and extract your essence from those because you're not going to need them anymore. And if you do need some, you can always come back and make a makeshift item. For some reason, you're using what you need, you run out of essence for your simple pickaxe, and you need something else to chop down a tree. Basic rocks, sticks, and plant fiber that you can find anywhere, you can always make a makeshift item in a pinch. And especially like torches early on, making torches, they don't seem to run out. So you can just use those indefinitely. But if you need more, the makeshift stuff is always there under crafting, which is under C. But then if you're going for building stuff, that'll come a little bit later. So now that we've got a couple basic tools, I'm going to go over to the Essence Trader and show you more about them. All right, so every so often you're going to come across some things that will actually mark themselves on the map. So I showed you there were some sites of power that are unmarked. Those are little things where you're typically going to find a little bit of supplies, a treasure chest. You might just find, some food on the ground, whatever it may be, little structures. There's something usually to pick up. You're also going to find some that are a little bigger, whether they're encampments like I had by my base, where it's an occupation you need to defeat the hostiles, but you'll get a reward. Sometimes you'll find some that are puzzle related, like this one is going to be a simple puzzle. You're literally just looking to activate the little totems in their timing, and they're going to show you. So that one's first, then this one's going to be second, and that final one over there's third. So far, I haven't seen these be too in-depth, but they are pretty simple. Also, it's starting to rain, which is going to be a reason why I need to go get an umbrella once you get all 3 in the right order. And again, if you do them in the wrong order, you'll be fighting enemies. So take a second, make sure you get the order right. Makes this much easier. We're going to come up here. You're going to release an echo. I got 12 essence. I also got a new blueprint for a random lamp. And then in here, you're going to release a favor of power. Now, every so often when you do these, you're going to notice the favor of power when you mouse over it. The beasts of the realm appear fragile, and your newfound strength, you can easily dispatch beasts. So for a little while, if I do run across anything that I could attack, like deer are just going to run away, so it's tough. I'm just going to slaughter the entire herd. But normally, those would take 2 hits for me to get through. But you'll notice the damage I'm doing with my pick much more than normal. And that's one of those moments where that buff. Now, it's temporary. It won't last very long. But if I had a ranged weapon, for example, I would probably be able to one-shot these guys and at least get one of them taken out. Because normally, if you get a range shot, you're usually not going to be able to do enough to pretty much anything early on, even with just a little marble shot, to be able to take them out. But with that random buff, I'm able to. If you're using this later on in a game or something, you've got that as a buff that you can use to maybe attack a boss or something bigger or anything along those lines. That's where those buffs are going to make a bigger difference. Right now, not really doing me too much of a benefit because they're usually too fast. They have weird running patterns sometimes, so you might catch them running back at you, and that's a point where you can kind of catch them in their tracks a little bit. But it's hard to catch the deer. The predators will come at you. So anytime you've got predators coming at you, whether it's boar, whether it's wolves in the forest, or anything that comes at you early on, as long as you're not going to die, it is a good idea to fight them and get the hide and the meat and everything that you can make leather and straps and animal fibers on all those things, because that's one of the harder things to grind. So as you're exploring, like these wolves, for example, they're attacking these little, I don't even know what those weird, creepy things are. But for now, I'm going to use my ability to kind of take all of these guys out. I don't know what those are. They're obviously not hard for me to fight. They're kind of creepy looking caterpillar deer, which that is an odd description of anything. But the predators typically will come back at you. Now it's raining, so you notice how much more damage I'm doing. If I get a crit, if I can get a crit, no, it's not going to let me get a crit. But again, stuff will not hurt nearly as bad, which is nice. Yeah, being as it's raining and I'm being rained on, my stamina sucks right now. But things are a little bit harder to do. But yeah, every single animal that you can face, truly take the time for the bones, but mainly for the hides and the meat. You're going to get fiber from the meat. The hides, you're going to get leather and straps. Both very useful for a while. So again, here you'll notice this is a random, probably unlisted side of power. There might not be anything here. Sometimes they're just like cool random structures. But sometimes there's usually maybe like a piece of meat or a meal or something sitting on the ground. If there's not, no big deal. Just check them. Alright, so from my base, I've made my journey over here to the Antiquarian side of power. That's one of the first places we're going to go down in and clear out. But I've also got the Essence Trader and our first quest person. Now, you also notice wandering around is Elizabeth. So if I go talk to Elizabeth, this is one of the first people you can recruit to kind of be part of your party and help you out. So a survivor nearby needs aid in completing a structure. And this is the first example. Now, her structure is up here under this cover. And you also notice right now it's actually hailing. So you'll notice the difference between rain and hail. One, because if you stand out here, I'm actually going to take damage and my character's going to be like, ah, ugh, eh, all of those things. But you also see the little square blocks as you fall. Or as they're falling down, you can see them as a little more. They look like it's raining small rocks. That's probably why it hurts. But the people you recruit, like Elizabeth, to be part of your party, you'll notice she has an axe, and she is just walking around chopping down trees. She will do the same thing for you. And they also have an inventory, they have gear, and you can equip them with different things. So if I equip her with a pickaxe, for example, one, she's going to be able to use that pickaxe in battle. So if I'm fighting, say, machines instead of animals, the pickaxe might be better. But also, she would then go around and mine rocks if they are nearby. But they also have an inventory, if you go up to them, once they become part of your party, that you can use as kind of a pack mule. So right now, these are the things that I need to finish her structures. And then once you finish the structures, looks like I need rocks, which I don't have any of at the moment. I can walk over here, and I can pick up the basic little rocks on the ground. Every one of these little bundles of rocks is worth like 3 or 4, so you don't need to usually overload yourself, just make sure you get enough. And I'm at like 17 by picking up 4 of those stacks. So once you've got them recruited, so you finish building, and usually when you do one of these quests, you'll maybe find these people out in the wild. They will also have a chest. Once you finish the quest, you can actually open the chest, and I'm going to get some essence for that. Early essence, not that hard to come by, because I showed you can break down twigs, sticks, plant fiber, rocks, all of it, and get the essence. Later on at higher levels, helping these people and getting a clump of essence like that at, say, tier 1, much harder to come by, because you can't just break stuff down. But now if you go back and talk to her, you can actually recruit them, and they are going to be part of your team. And they will follow you everywhere. If you fast travel home, they're going to teleport with you. If you run into a dungeon, they're going to be in there. And you can choose if you want to equip them with better gear, which is not a bad idea. So right now their gear is at like level 16, their axe is at 6. So if I make her a wood shift axe, for example, she would be stronger. But she's also carrying wood bundles, and I can have her carry rocks, I can have her carry twigs, I can have her carry just about anything that might have weight to it, and she's got space for. And then later on when I get right back to my base, she will fast travel with me, and she is actually going to be really helpful for carrying stuff, because sometimes you're like, she could have 100 like wood bundles in her inventory, not going to weigh her down. So they don't have a weight, they just have a capacity of items total. Here is this grid. When the 20 are full, that's fine, but she could hold 100 wood bundles and weight's not going to matter. Apparently she works out way more than I do, but they are very, very good as storage people to bring with you all the time. So that is one of the first things you're going to do here at this quest area, is recruit somebody with you. They are extremely helpful. Now, we've got a quest person who's going to give you some tasks to do, but you've also got your essence trader. Now, your essence trader, you have ways to look up your essence traders. If you go up to your guidebook and you go to traders, you can see the Abeyance essence trader. This is my Abeyance realm. This is where your spaces, you can open it up and you can actually see that I can see everything that they've got. So if I go into a certain realm and I want to look for a certain thing, you can dig through some of these. It's not always necessary to dig through a lot of it. So far in the quests have been told, like, you need to go to this realm to get this thing. You need to go to this realm to get this thing. But probably later on, if you're looking for very specific things, whether it be certain materials or constructions or buildings, you might have to do a little digging. This is where you dig. Now, I showed you in my inventory, when I check on essence, that I've got about 600. That's because, again, I've been picking up so much random stuff and breaking it down. Like if I have, 75 plant fiber, I'm going to break down most of that because I know I don't need that much of it. That's how you get your early supply of essence. So when you get to this guy and you speak with him, I could buy a maul, but I could also craft it. One of the absolute first things you need is an umbrella, because with an umbrella, you can walk around in the rain, in the hail, and you're going to be protected from the elements in a light fashion, but you can also jump and glide off of high areas, and you can catch yourself with the umbrella so you can fall down, which is really, really important. Now, you can have advanced roofs if you want, made out of crude wood, so I might buy those just to see what they look like. I have plenty. But some of the early stuff you need are your basics. So this is why each one of these being 55, I recommend doing exactly what I did. Picking up a whole bunch of junk and dismantling it for essence. So I know early on I need a sewing bench. This is going to let me make my first set of clothes. And once you own these things, you don't have to like come back and get more. Their inventory doesn't change. Once you're here, you're going to have everything you need. Simple Enchanter's Focus. This is going to allow you to make cards. You're eventually going to need this one as well, so you can go to different realms. And then depending on how much currency you have, this is where you can get into a little bit more of refined items. So a table saw is going to let you refine lumber. Smelter is going to let you smelt down rocks and ore. Mortar station is going to allow you to do different crafting options. Spinning wheel, that's going to be a bit of an upgrade for certain clothing items. And masonry bench. You guys can get the idea what these are all going to be used for. So now that I own all of these blueprints, whenever I get back to my base, I can craft all of them. Now you can buy specific supplies if you need to. And sometimes it's easier if you just are swimming in essence. And later on, you probably will be able to do that. But unless you need something specific, I wouldn't spend like 45 essence on one twine. When you get to the point where you can actually make twine, not that hard to do. So not worth, dumping all of that in there. So I've got all of the like kind of recipes and schematics that I need. The other things you might want to check, again, for buildings, if you want both roofs, sure. Lighting is not a bad thing. It's not an easy thing to come by, but if you want simple candles, chandelier, again, having your stuff be well lit actually does give it a benefit. So I've used up basically all my essence. Let's see what this quest guy has to tell us. This is your very first quest. So basically what this guy's going to do is kind of give you an early quest. So, the Forest Antiquarian Realm. So it seems there are many great fellow realm walkers, that's what you are, as near as the Forest Antiquarian Realm. So if you can make a Forest card and an Antiquarian card, that's how you're going to get to that realm. You'll meet new people, and Aurelio Efesio Acevedo Ortega in my journeys, never seen someone so clearly plagued by gold sickness. But if you are in that area, you can talk to them. It seems Nellie Bly managed to escape New York, and she's going to be out there in the world. So you can talk and kind of get an idea of where some of these will go. Hidden in the Desert Astrolab. So again, you need to get the Desert card and the Astrolab card. Victor Frankenstein himself is out there. So those are the two that I'm able to go for at this point. That's all for now. And those are going to be quests that I can get to later. So at this point, now that I'm kind of done with this area, if I wanted to apply a realm card, I could. And it's only one card per realm, but you can override it if you want to. If you did one thing that had a benefit for fishing, you're like, I'm done fishing, I'm good. Go apply something else, you can get benefits there. So that's the Realmic Transmuter. I know we covered a lot here in this little piece of the recording, but now we are going to travel back home. So literally to do that, it's damn near instant. I'm on an SSD, I'm home. It's that fast. So now that I'm back here, I'm home, I can work on what I need to, I can figure out what I need, and at this point, she's right here, and if you leave her with an axe, she's just going to walk around and chop down trees, and she will do a lot of that. So for now, that's as much of the tips you're going to get about this recording. Let me see what else I come up with. So for your other characters that are going to be in your party, typically I think it's only one at a limit right now. What you're able to do is actually change their equipment. Now, if they picked up supplies, I can hold on to those. And I can move those over. So as I said, they're really good to have for materials that you need, carrying them, because they don't really have a weight limit like you do. But on the other side, like, I have a better axe, but right now she does not. She's got her junky one. But if I just take the axe and I move it over to her inventory, what you can do is literally just highlight it, and instead of her level 6 one, she's going to have a level 20. And if you equip that one, you're good. So she doesn't need the other one anymore. They don't have a durability as well, so they're actually able to kind of just use stuff indefinitely. So if you give them a specific tool as a weapon or a tool, they are going to use it indefinitely, really without repair, or if they do need repaired, it's way too long for the hours that I previously played. So now if she wanders around and there's like trees over here that you're chopping down and you're in the area, if you start chopping, she's going to do one of two things. One, she's going to chop stuff down for you if she's in the area, or if stuff has been chopped and she's like equipped with an axe, she's going to sit there and chop down trees. I don't know if I said this, but as I said, don't chop these down. Usually it's not worth what you get from them, but also I think trees are going to grow back, so you may as well just leave them up. I'm going to work on gathering up some materials so I can make some clothes, and then we'll be back. Quick thing, went for a little exploration. It did start to rain, and as hail can happen in the forests, this is the one thing you're going to want to make sure you're protected against. So you're going to need 1 wood bundle, 1 stone block, and 1 hide for an umbrella. And those are extremely important because your ability to kind of run around and manage the elements is a thing. So whenever the umbrella is done crafting, we're going to pick that up. And that is going to be an offhand item. And again, you don't need your food in your offhands per se. They just end up there. Sometimes you'll have other stuff that sits there, like potions and other things. But if you're running around and you have an umbrella, now you can walk around in the world while it's raining. And you have the ability to manage the elements, but also you have the ability to glide. So if I can get a little elevation, and it can be high or low, but as you're falling, you have the ability to catch your fall, and it's based on your stamina. And then as you glide down, you can kind of cover some ground. And you use that from really, really high up. If you jump from the top of a cliff all the way to the bottom, catch your fall at the bottom. Just make sure you got stamina before you jump. And you'll actually be able to kind of cover ground that you might not want to go all the way down if you're like, man, this is going to take me a while to climb down there. But on the other hand, if you can just like glide down with an umbrella, it works really well. So yeah, it helps you with the elements. So you're good with that, not getting wet at all. Or the hail's coming down, and that won't affect me either. As you can see, it start to fall and land. Those won't affect me, which is good. Your umbrella will have durability, so you'll have to keep up with that. But also jumping off cliffs, a nice way to do it. Another thing you can do is if you get to the edge of something in boosts, you're actually able to get a little momentum. So your offhand item, like this knife, for example, if I boost while I'm like kind of on the edge of something, it's going to give me more momentum with my glide, and then kind of the fall will happen. So watch your stamina when you're gliding. You don't want to be halfway through a fall and then just fall the rest of the way and defeat the purpose. Use your glide on the way out as a glider, but also if it's a big fall, catch yourself towards the end of the fall to make sure you use your stamina properly and not just break your legs. So anyway, back to what we were doing, looking for animal hides. So if a structure or rock face or something isn't quite too tall, if you can jump and then double tap, kind of, usually for me it's sometimes a jump, maybe a jump and then like a catch, you can usually kind of pull yourself up to the top of things as you're climbing. So if I'm trying to climb up these rocks, for example, I know I could go around, but if you're trying to go up a big wall, sometimes if you work back and forth, you'll be able to walk up a little bit, climb up a little bit, walk up a little bit, climb up a little bit, but that little clambering on the edge, just don't forget it's there. There are climbing picks that you're going to be able to craft later on, so you can use stamina to climb damn near up some straight surfaces, but yeah, for early climbing and just edges, just remember that's there. Alright, so once you've actually crafted your full set of gear, you're going to notice you've got a little bit more resistance and a little bit more health, and I've also got, 100 capacity instead of 50, which is just massively doubled. That is one of the things I'll tell you. Your armor is stuff you'll level up over time, but for like where to spend your materials first, your armor is nice for the stats and benefits for health and things, but your pack for storage, your weapons for damage, probably earlier priorities in clothing, and then you can work on some of the bigger pieces that are going to give you more health or resistance or whatever you find beneficial. But the pack and weapons, probably my earlier priorities as you're using like new tiers, and resources are hard to come by when you like make that initial step into a new tier of gear. Start with the stuff that makes the biggest difference to you running around. weapons for damage, the pack for efficiency. But again, your gear is going to give you a lot more health than we had before. And then when I start consuming food and I get my stamina, my health is going to be up to 188. My stamina's now noticeably higher. The gear will make a difference, and that's how you're able to jump into these new areas and do things. But yeah, once you got yourself all the way stacked out to 20, you notice I'm still just holding a torch. If I equip my axe and I check my gear score, now I'm at gear score level 20. So it's your average of everything plus your equipped weapon. And that means we can actually go to the Antiquarian side of power. I'm going to show you kind of your first dungeon area. So this is a prime example. I tried to do the dash off a ledge, but I didn't have my umbrella out. I had something else out, so I had the wrong thing. So I barely caught myself with my umbrella, but I still fell too far and I broke my leg. To heal that type of thing, you either need to do one of two things. You're either going to be really slow and unable to like run or dodge until that timer is out, or you can use a healing salve and actually heal yourself up. Healing potions are only going to heal health typically, but they're not going to heal injuries like that. What I'm supposed to do is do something a little more along the lines of a dash and then a glide and make it a soft landing. That's what I was trying to do. So yeah, if you mess up a fall at some point, that's kind of how you fix yourself. Totally random thing. I don't know why every so often, like, this piece of my foundation is hurt, and I can't even tell you how that even happens randomly unless I'm just bouncing around on it too much. But your hammer, while it can be used as a weapon, it's also one of those things that you can use to repair your foundation. Now, typically your main base isn't just going to get attacked, but you can actually repair your base with a hammer. Sounds logical, but you can do it. So wherever your Realmic Transmuter of Power is, your minor cards are used there. And I want to show you what one minor card can do, because it's probably one of my easiest pieces of advice early on until you get to farming or doing other things with your minor cards. You can check what you've got, but as you explore and do random sites of power, what you're looking for is going to be a thinned veiled card. And what this does is allow you to move more quickly, leap safely to great heights, and use more stamina more efficiently. And as you're exploring your first area, whether you're running around, you're crafting, you're running back and forth for resources, running back and forth to a portal, a whole bunch of stuff you're going to be doing in this main abeyance realm, your main home. And there's different stuff you can do in different ways, but for me, using the thin veiled card, and you notice you can get multiple, you might find more than one, allowing you to have all of the abilities to basically increase movement speed, stamina efficiency, jump velocity, and durability drain, slight durability drain increase, and you'll see space at all times. It actually looks really cool. So as it goes into effect, you'll actually see it kind of branch out. And when it hits, kind of looks really cool. Like, the effects that they've done are really, really nice. And then you'll notice, like, you can see out in space, the skybox actually changes fully. But you'll also notice I can jump way higher at this point, and you can see it actually has the effects. A slight movement speed increase, slight stamina efficiency increase, and slight jump velocity increase. Now, the durability of your tools does drain slightly faster because of what you're doing. But for me, being as I'm running around faster, I have plenty of essence, the basic durability of these tools here, that one I don't mind. And then when I go exploring in other realms, you can have different effects there. But now if I do my little umbrella dash, for example, I'm going to be able to last way longer. The stamina is much more efficient. The gravity is a lot lighter. I can jump around a bit more. Like, your jumps are higher, so if you've got to jump up and scale anything, you can do that. I totally forgot to get this one, but we're going to take care of that. So I'm going to actually do the final thing of venturing into a new realm, show you what that's about, and then we will wrap this up. So I'm probably going to like shove this right before I get to my outro. As you're running around your new realm, you're going to find things at a higher tier. So you'll notice this tree right here takes 0, and that basically means it's going to be a piece of common gear. This is all you can always check by put the wrong tool in your hand and you can see the level. But the ones that I noticed as I was playing early, and so far it seems the case, when I got to this realm, it was the white trees. They actually take 10. So when you chop these down, they don't take that much longer per se. Usually just depends on the size of the trunk. But when they fall, you're going to notice you're going to be picking up tier 1 wood. And you will use that for other stuff later on. But you also want to make sure when you're auto-filling any of your crafting requirements that you go through, that you're careful, because tier 1 wood might be something you want to save for crafting higher level things. So if you're using wood bundles at tier 1 as opposed to wood bundles at basic level or crude level, you might want to make sure you earmark those. Same thing, this is why I have the sickle, because I can't just run around and pick up all the plants. These white ones here require a sickle for just kind of harvesting. And these are going to be higher level plant fibers in the same way. So as I run around and pick those up, they're also going to be something I'm probably going to want to make sure I don't just break down for essence and currency, that I actually have, you know, very specific uses for, and save those for later. So that's just one random final tip, since I'm literally standing next to some white shrubbery and stuff. And also occasionally, as you're dealing with these new, you know, tier 1 items that you're taking down, they also now will start to drop tier 1 essence. And that's your early goal, is tier 1 essence. Either find it on sites of power, which is going to be your faster way. Not sites of power, but any of those points of interest where you get a clump of it, probably going to be your faster way. But also, as you interact with any of the higher level things in the area, enemies and other stuff, they have a chance to drop that tier 1 essence. So as you're, again, running around and dealing with all the predators, they might drop that higher essence. Don't forget to pick that up. All right, so final thing for your Advanced Realm, at least for your first step of your journey, is to craft your Forest and Antiquarian card. We already covered that and all the ingredients you'll need. So that's going around and making lumber and glass and ingots and refining those with all the different crafting stations. Once you've gone to the essence, or the essence station, made your cards and crafted them, you'll come to your portal. As I said, mine was marked on my map. If it's not marked on your map, you might have to explore, but I think they hopefully will mark them on the map in with this new version. And you'll notice the Antiquarian card is now going to be level 20. So it bumps up the difficulty a little bit. You're going to get to tier 1 resources. You can make it public if you want more people to join. You can reset the realm if you want to, but you have to visit at least one time. And if you open a portal, you're able to fast travel back to this realm, right back to your respite anytime you need. But to get back to that realm, what you're going to need to do is come over here, and you'll be able to reopen a portal early on, which is fine. So if I open the portal, then I go through, do what I need to do, warp back to my respite realm, back to my home, craft what I need to do, and then I come back over here to the portal. When I come over here and I open it, it's going to ask me if I want to reopen that realm. I could reopen the realm at that time. I'm not going to fight any enemies like I would, and then I could go back through to that same realm later on and play around in that realm. But if I want to do a Forest Antiquarian realm that is different than the previous one, what you would do is then you would have to close the previous realm, put 2 new cards in, and then you have to reset it, because you would want a Forest Antiquarian, but not the one you've already made. That instance you've made is something you can revisit as long as it's open. And eventually you're going to be able to actually make some of these portals back at your base, and you can kind of leave them open as portals to those realms. So you're going to be able to make these realms as something you can go back and revisit kind of on a frequent basis, which is a pretty cool thing. And all of these are instanced, they're dedicated servers. And I know some people will complain about this being online, but being as me and 5 other people can share the same realm, we can go to different realms with our cards, depending on who crafts the cards, you make them, but they're shared. The co-op is actually really cool, and it's all hosted on their dedicated servers as opposed to having to pay for a server on your own. So I appreciate the fact that it is dedicated servers. I know the online piece is a thing, but the reason for it, for me, kind of makes sense. That's why I will kind of give them at least a little credit as to why. So I'm eating a little bit to take care of my hunger, get some health up here because we are going to face a couple of enemies. I've got my trusty Elizabeth here who's going to help me out. And usually it's just a couple waves of enemies. They haven't been too crazy yet. And once you get these waves done, usually after 2 waves, the portal will open. But right now it's basically one creating the realm that you're going to. So it's literally making the server. And this is kind of an interesting loading screen if you want to think of it that way. But then once it's through, there will be no more. But yeah, the dedicated servers that they host on their own allows like you don't have to all be online at the same time. You don't have to make sure you wait on one person. The asynchronous co-op is allowed by their dedicated servers. So I think that's kind of the give and take that, in my opinion, seems generally worth it. Because if I get on now and my friend wants to get on 6 hours later while I'm sleeping, we can all share the same realm. We can all share the same stuff. And I think that's pretty cool. Let's go into the realm. And it's going to prepare this one for a second. And when you get in here, you're going to talk to kind of your first quest guy in here. Everybody's going to experience these first couple of things, but as you unlock more cards and more realms, and the randomness that you explore through these quests is going to take you through a whole bunch of realms to explore, and there's a lot of the game to come. So let's get through here, and we will wrap this thing up. So the faction here is the Druids. Playing this card, settled by the Druids and the Fey Ruins. You'll see different things here than you would just in our previous one. Also have a completely different color palette here. But the portal's just open, so if you want to walk on back through, you can. No big deal. But here's our quest giver. This one's not voiced, but this is a guy who's going to give us our first kind of quests. He notices that you've got certain tools that you were given. We were given those by Puck. And he doesn't know everything, but he introduces himself. He asks if we can do anything. You can get to know a little bit of what's going on with where he's from. He's basically a reporter doing certain things. And you can read all of that if you want to. You ask if there's a way back, but you have to basically, your path to the City of Magic is a labyrinth. And it's through a whole bunch of different realms and connections and things that you're going to have to go through. And that's one of the places you're looking for, is a place called the Watch. I think it's what it's called. And you're looking to try and get there through going through all of these different portals, which is, I think, a really unique concept for one. Kind of, it gives a lot of randomness to it for everybody. The procedural generation is cool, and you've also got the ability to go to a bunch of different places and see different realms and have somewhat of a different experience than everybody else. And basically it says you need to earn the title of Realm Walker is what he's saying in this early quest. So the first thing you need to do in this realm is there's different ruins and trials that you need to do. The Fae high valuable essences in their architecture. So when I hold essence in my hand, couldn't have said it better. So I need to acquire tier 1 essence. Now from that first dungeon, I did get a little bit of tier 1 essence, but you're going to find some from those small sites of power that you find. And you'll notice this is higher than this. So right now my mining pick can actually mine the quartz, but I can't mine the shimmering one yet. And that comes as you upgrade your gear. And all those little random sites of power we talked about before, like that one over there, probably has some enemies or a puzzle or anything else. Same thing, you're going to be finding those little pockets of essence. So you're going to run around and explore. You're going to find some higher level trees, some higher level bushes. And this is going to be your next realm that you're going to hang out in for a little while. There might be some sites of power in here as well. Explore those, fight a boss, unlock some more things. So that's your general loop. Going through each realm, leveling your stuff up in tiers, exploring more things, and then you get to the upgrade bench where you can upgrade things, you can add extra augmentations to things, and there's a lot, just an absolute ton of depth to this game and a lot of realms that you get to visit. So if you enjoyed this video, drop a like below, because this is where I'm going to finish this one for you, because at this point, you're on to do quite a bit of exploring on your own, but hopefully we've got you far enough along at this point to let you really keep wandering around and exploring on your own and adventure everything that Nightingale has to offer. If you enjoyed this one, though, drop a like below. Leave a comment if you've got thoughts, opinions, more tips that I may have forgotten. Something very obvious. I've tried to cover a lot. And if you want to find me on Twitch or Twitter, streaming this and many other things, or just hanging out on Twitter, find me at Ebontis over there. But if you're new, please hit that subscribe button, hit the alert bell. I like to cover a lot of things. I like to do a lot of these beginner guides to get everybody's feet off, you know, hit the ground running kind of thing. So if you enjoy this type of stuff from me, you will find a lot more of it here. I covered Destiny for a long time and will continue to, but I'm covering a lot more now. So don't go anywhere, and I hope to see you in the next video. But good luck in your exploration of the realms. Realm Walker, you're on your own.